Under the soft glow of twilight, in a kingdom where willow trees brushed their long arms across quiet streams, there lived a young princess named Elara. Her hair shimmered like threads of moonlight, and she loved to wander away from the stone castle walls into the meadows and gardens, where the world felt slower, calmer, and full of secrets waiting to be found. On this particular evening, the air was warm with the scent of jasmine, and the sky glowed with fading colors of rose and violet as stars began to blink awake. Elara carried a small lantern shaped like a flower, its golden light flickering gently. She liked to walk the garden paths after sunset, when the chatter of the day faded and the night's music took over, crickets humming, owls calling softly, and the quiet splash of fish in the ponds. The princess felt safe here, wrapped in the lull of her kingdom's night, as if the earth itself was whispering good-night stories just for her. Beyond the roses and the arching vines of honeysuckle, there was one place Elara especially loved, the golden pond. It wasn't golden all the time. By day it looked like an ordinary pool of clear water ringed by reeds and lily pads. But at night, when the moon was high, something magical happened. The surface of the pond shimmered like liquid light, reflecting the stars as if they had all fallen into its depths. It was said by the old storytellers that the golden pond held secrets, that it could reveal dreams or even call forth creatures of wonder. Elara stepped softly onto the grassy bank, her slippers brushing the dew. The lantern's glow joined with the moonlight, making the pond glisten brighter. She set the lantern down and sat carefully, her gown pooling around her like spilled starlight. She leaned forward, gazing into the water, watching how the ripples bent the reflection of the moon. As she sat there, a sound reached her ears, a soft croak, gentle and low, almost like a greeting. She tilted her head, eyes searching the lily pads. And there, resting on one as if it were his throne, was a frog unlike any she had ever seen. His skin shimmered green and gold, and his eyes glowed like tiny lanterns. He blinked at her slowly, then spoke in a voice that was calm, soothing, and deep like the pond itself. "Good evening, Princess Elara," the frog said. Elara's breath caught, though she did not feel fear. Instead, her heart beat quickly with curiosity. She leaned closer, her voice soft. You can speak?" The golden frog bowed his head slightly. "Only when the moon touches the pond like this. And only to those who listen with quiet hearts." Elara's lantern flickered, and the air grew still, as though the whole world leaned in to hear what would happen next. Elara's eyes widened as the golden frog's voice rippled through the night air. It was not sharp or startling but gentle, like the soft roll of thunder before a summer rain. She clasped her hands in her lap, her lantern's glow warming her cheeks. "How do you know my name?" she whispered, leaning closer to the golden pond. The frog tilted his head, his eyes glowing like twin stars resting on the surface of the water. "The pond knows," he replied softly. "It whispers names through its ripples, carrying them to those who wait and listen. I have watched you come here, Princess Elara. You walk softly, you listen to the night. You see beauty where others rush past. That is why the pond has chosen to show me to you." Elara's breath slowed. She felt the air grow heavier with magic, not frightening, but like a blanket settling across her shoulders. She dipped a finger into the golden water, tracing circles on its surface. "Chosen me?" she asked. The frog gave a small nod, the lily pad beneath him barely moving. "Yes. Every few generations, the pond glows brightest for one soul, a dreamer, a listener, someone whose heart is ready for wonder. Tonight, it glows for you. And because of that, I may share what lies beneath." Elara leaned closer still, her gown brushing the damp grass. The moon's reflection wavered, stretching long across the pond. "What lies beneath?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The frog's golden throat pulsed as he croaked once, then spoke again. "A world few ever see. A place where the water turns to light, where lilies become lanterns, and where the quiet dreams of every creature rest. If you wish, I will take you there. But only if your heart longs for peace more than answers." The princess pressed her palm against her chest. Peace, that was exactly what she always sought when she wandered the gardens at night, when she sat by the pond and listened to the whispers of frogs and the hum of crickets. She nodded slowly. "I wish to see it," she said. The frog's eyes glimmered brighter. "Then place your hand on the water, and let the pond carry you." Elara hesitated only for a moment. The water shimmered beneath her, glowing brighter now, as if it too waited for her touch. She stretched her fingers forward, and as soon as her palm pressed flat against the surface, a ripple spread outward, not just a ripple of water, but of light. It rolled across the pond, turning every wave into gold, until the entire surface looked like a sheet of sunlight captured under the moon. The frog leapt gracefully from his lily pad, landing gently beside her on the grassy bank. His voice was warm now, almost like a lullaby. "Close your eyes, princess. The golden pond does the rest." Elara obeyed. The world hushed. The crickets stilled, the breeze paused, and the lantern flame softened into a glow as steady as her heartbeat. She felt warmth wrap around her fingers, her arms, her whole body, as though the water had risen to cradle her. She did not sink, she floated, weightless, safe, wrapped in golden calm. The frog's voice came once more, distant but clear. "When you open your eyes, you will see what lies within the dreams of the pond." Elara's lips curved into a soft smile as the light carried her gently forward, pulling her into the golden glow. Elara floated in the golden glow, her body light as a feather drifting on a summer breeze. The warmth of the pond wrapped around her like a silken quilt, humming with the steady rhythm of a lullaby. For a long while, she kept her eyes closed, trusting the frog's voice that lingered in her mind. When at last her lashes fluttered open, she gasped softly. She was no longer sitting by the garden's grassy bank. She was inside the pond itself, or what the pond became under the moon's blessing. Around her stretched a world made entirely of light and reflection. The water was no longer water at all but glowing rivers of liquid gold, streaming gently in curves like threads woven into a great tapestry. The lily pads had transformed into floating lanterns, drifting lazily, each glowing with a soft inner fire. Above her, the sky was not dark but filled with shimmering shapes, as though every star had slipped down to rest inside the pond's heart. The golden frog sat upon one of the drifting lantern lilies, his body shining more brightly than before. His eyes glimmered like polished gems, and his voice reached her as steady as the pond's current. "Welcome, Princess Elara, to the dreaming depths. Here, the pond gathers the quiet wishes and tender dreams of every living soul in the kingdom. Each lantern carries one." Elara stepped carefully onto a lily pad that drifted beneath her feet. To her surprise, it held her weight easily, softer than any cushion, glowing with warmth beneath her slippers. She looked down and saw something move within its golden glow. A picture appeared, an image of a little child from the village, sleeping in her bed, clutching a rag doll. The child's dream shimmered there, glowing with colors that pulsed like a heartbeat. The lantern hummed, its sound matching the child's steady breaths. Elara covered her mouth in awe. "These are their dreams," she whispered. The frog nodded slowly. "Yes. Dreams rise like mist and drift here, where the pond cradles them until dawn. Each dream glows with what the dreamer needs most: comfort, hope, rest. When morning comes, the pond releases them back, sending hearts lighter into the day." Elara gazed around her. Every lantern she saw held something different. One flickered with the image of a fox curled in its den, dreaming of chasing fireflies. Another shimmered with a baker from the castle kitchens, dreaming of bread rising golden and perfect in his oven. Still another swirled with a vision of an old woman, dreaming of sitting beneath a tree, her children laughing beside her. Each lantern pulsed, steady and calm, as though the pond itself was keeping time for them all. The princess pressed her hands to her chest, her eyes glistening. "It's so beautiful," she whispered. "It's like every heart has a star of its own." The frog leapt to another lantern, the water's glow rippling beneath him. "Come, princess," he said gently. "Let me show you more." She followed, stepping from lantern to lantern, each one lifting her lightly as she moved. The air around her was hushed but alive with sound, the hum of the lanterns, the soft splash of golden rivers, the occasional croak of the frog as he guided her. The deeper they traveled, the more wondrous the sights became. Soon they reached a wide basin where the golden water pooled into a vast mirror. Its surface shimmered not with single dreams but with dozens all at once, weaving together into a living tapestry. Elara leaned close and gasped as she saw her own people reflected there, farmers resting after long days, guards nodding off at their posts, children curled beneath patchwork quilts. Their dreams braided together, forming patterns of peace that spread like ripples. The frog sat proudly on the edge of the basin. "This is the kingdom's dream heart," he said. "It holds everyone together. Though their lives may be different, their dreams flow here side by side. That is the pond's gift, it binds hearts through sleep." Elara knelt on a glowing lily pad, her gown trailing like silver mist across its surface. She felt tears of wonder slip down her cheeks. Never had she imagined that beneath the calm waters of her favorite pond, such a world thrived, quiet, steady, invisible yet so important. She looked at the frog, her voice trembling with awe. "Why have you shown me this? Why now?" The frog's golden eyes softened. "Because you carry the heart of a listener. You will be a princess who cares not only for crowns and courts, but for the quiet needs of her people. The pond has chosen you to remember this place, to carry its peace above the surface. And perhaps, to share it when the time comes." Elara bowed her head, feeling a steady warmth in her chest. The lanterns around her pulsed brighter, as though agreeing with the frog's words. She reached out and touched the surface of the dream basin. The light rippled, wrapping gently around her hand, sinking into her skin. She felt comfort fill her, as though she held in her palm the laughter of children, the sighs of the weary, the joy of simple dreams. Her voice was quiet, certain. "I will carry it. I promise." The golden frog croaked softly, a sound almost like a laugh, and the lanterns around them swayed gently in approval. The golden basin shimmered beneath Elara's fingertips, sending ripples of warmth across her skin that seemed to settle straight into her heart. She sat still for a long moment, breathing slowly, letting the glow surround her like the hush of a lullaby. The frog's eyes gleamed gently, watching her with the patience of someone who had waited centuries to be understood. At last, he croaked softly and leapt to a broader lily lantern that hovered nearby, glowing brighter than the rest. "Princess," he called in his calm, deep voice, "you have seen the dreams of your people. But there is something more, something older than the kingdom itself. Would you like to see it?" Elara's breath caught. "Older than the kingdom?" she asked, her voice no louder than a whisper. She rose carefully from her glowing seat, the hem of her gown trailing through golden mist. Her slippers touched the frog's lantern, and instantly she felt a warmth so ancient it seemed to hum like the earth itself. The frog nodded solemnly. "The pond does not only hold the dreams of tonight. It remembers. It keeps the first dream, the oldest dream, the one from which this land began. Few are shown it, for it is a memory as much as a dream, but the pond has chosen you. Come." He turned, and the lily lanterns shifted, forming a path that spiraled deeper into the glowing depths. Elara followed, each step steady, each lantern humming in rhythm with her heartbeat. The further they went, the quieter the pond became. The hum of the dreams softened into silence, the golden water stilling until it looked like glass. The air itself felt thicker, heavier, as if even the stars were holding their breath. At last, the path ended at a single, enormous lily lantern that floated in the very center of the pond. Unlike the others, it was not simply glowing, it was radiant, shining with layers of silver and gold woven together, so bright that Elara raised a hand to shield her eyes. Yet its brightness wasn't harsh, it was soft, enveloping, like being surrounded by sunlight through a curtain. The frog leapt onto its edge, his voice steady and reverent. "This is the first dream. It is said that when the land was bare, when no kingdom stood and no voices sang, the pond dreamed of life. From that dream came water, trees, skies, and creatures. From it came laughter, kindness, and the quiet moments of rest that hold the world together. Elara stepped forward cautiously, her breath trembling in her throat. She looked down into the heart of the great lantern, and gasped. Inside, she saw visions unfolding, not like the flickers of simple dreams, but like the turning of an endless story. She saw the land as a blank canvas, silent and dark. Then, from the golden pond, light spilled outward, rolling across the earth like dawn. Trees sprouted, rivers wound their paths, mountains rose like guardians. She saw the first creatures, small, curious, gentle, opening their eyes beneath a sky that glowed with stars newly born. The vision shifted, and she saw laughter, soft and innocent, ripple through the world for the first time. A bird sang, a rabbit leapt, a child smiled in their sleep. These were not just memories, they were the very seeds of joy, carried into every generation. The first dream was not of crowns or castles or power, it was of belonging, of warmth, of the quiet peace that made life possible. Elara's eyes filled with tears. She pressed her hand against her chest as the images swirled within the lantern, filling her with awe so deep it was almost too much to hold. It's beautiful," she whispered. "It feels like everything has been touched by this dream." The frog bowed his head. "Yes. And it still flows into the world, carried in every ripple of the pond. Every dream you saw, the baker's joy, the child's comfort, the fox's play, all are threads spun from this first dream. Without it, the kingdom would have no heart." Elara's tears slipped down her cheeks, catching the golden glow as they fell. She sank to her knees on the great lantern, bowing her head reverently. "Why show me this?" she asked softly. The frog's eyes softened, glowing like tiny lanterns themselves. "Because someday, you will be more than a princess wandering gardens. You will guide people, you will listen to them, you will carry their hopes. To do so, you must know that what binds them all is not wealth or titles, but this, the oldest dream, the promise of peace." Elara nodded slowly, her chest rising and falling with steady breaths. She felt the truth settle inside her like roots, firm and unshakable. The glow from the great lantern wrapped around her, seeping into her gown, her skin, her very heart. It was not heavy, not frightening, it was like the warmest blanket, reminding her she was part of something vast, yet tender. The frog croaked softly, his voice almost like a lullaby. "The pond trusts you, Princess Elara. Carry this dream with you, and it will guide your steps, even when the world grows loud." The great lantern pulsed once, sending a wave of golden light across the pond. Every smaller lantern swayed gently in answer, as though bowing to the princess. The water shimmered brighter than ever, the whole world alive with the hush of reverence. Elara closed her eyes, whispering into the glow. "I will carry it. Always." And the pond answered, not in words, but in light that wrapped around her like a promise. Elara stayed kneeling on the great lantern, her palms pressed lightly to its glowing surface. The warmth soaked into her fingertips, climbed her arms, and rested in her chest, steady as a heartbeat. Around her, the pond's countless dream lanterns swayed in slow unison, as if they too breathed with her, holding her in a rhythm older than time. For a long while, she let herself be still, bathed in the golden glow, listening to the pond's silence, which somehow was fuller than sound. The golden frog perched nearby on the edge of the lantern, his small body glimmering brighter than before. His throat pulsed once with a soft croak, then his calm voice filled the air like ripples spreading across quiet water. "Princess Elara, you have seen what few ever do. You have looked upon the first dream, and you have walked among the dreams of your people. The pond has trusted you with its heart. But all dreams must return to their dreamers, and all journeys must circle home." Elara lifted her head, her eyes shining with tears that glowed faintly in the lantern light. "I don't want to leave," she whispered honestly. "It feels as though the whole world is safe here, like nothing could ever be unkind again." The frog's golden eyes softened, almost sad, yet full of wisdom. and that is why you must carry it back. If you stayed, the world above would lose your listening heart. The garden would wait for your footsteps. The people would wait for your voice. The pond does not give gifts to keep hidden, it shares them so they can glow where they are most needed. Elara breathed slowly, letting the words settle. Deep down she understood. Magic wasn't meant to be clutched tightly but to ripple outward, the way lanterns lit one another in the night. She nodded, placing her hand firmly against her chest. Then I will return. But how will I remember all of this? What if I wake and it fades like a dream? The frog leapt closer, his golden skin glowing with every motion. He pressed his tiny paw gently against her gown, right where her hand lay over her heart. The pond will not let you forget. It has placed its light inside you. Whenever you are uncertain, you will feel its glow. Whenever you doubt, you will hear its hum. And whenever you look into the eyes of those you guide, you will see it reflected back. This is your blessing. At his words, the great lantern beneath them pulsed, and a gentle current of warmth surged into Elara. She gasped softly as her whole body shimmered faintly, as though wrapped in golden dust. Her gown sparkled like moonlight on rippling water, and her hair caught the glow of stars. For a moment, she felt less like a girl and more like a piece of the night sky itself. The frog stepped back, bowing his small head. Now, it is time. The great lantern began to drift downward, slowly, steadily, carrying Elara as if in a cradle. The other lanterns swayed to part the way, their glow dimming respectfully as she passed. The golden rivers of light curved gently, guiding her path back. She sat very still, her hands resting in her lap, her eyes drinking in every final shimmer as the dreaming depths began to release her. The air grew lighter, thinner, and she realized the pond was lifting her back toward its surface. The lily lanterns below shimmered one last time, their dreams folding quietly back into themselves, waiting for dawn. Above her, the silver face of the moon returned, gleaming on the rippling surface of water. The golden glow thinned, softening into a gentle haze. The frog's voice followed her, warm and certain. When you wake, it will seem simple, a pond, a lantern, a frog. But your heart will know the truth. Carry the dream, Princess Elara. Let it guide your crown not with power, but with peace. Her eyes fluttered closed as the golden water wrapped her tighter, warmer, quieter still. She felt the lantern beneath her dissolve, becoming nothing but light, carrying her upward like a feather drifting on a calm breeze. And then, she felt the grass beneath her fingers. The cool air of the garden touched her face. The crickets resumed their song, the brook whispered in the distance, and the lantern by her side flickered softly. Elara opened her eyes slowly, blinking at the familiar garden, the willow trees, the golden pond shimmering under the moonlight. Beside her, perched calmly on his lily pad, sat the golden frog. His glow was softer now, as though a veil had been drawn back over his magic. Yet his eyes still shone with the same steady light. Was it real? Elara whispered, almost afraid the night would take the memory away. The frog gave a slow nod. As real as your breath. As real as your heartbeat. Carry it gently, princess. Her lips curved into a soft, weary smile. She felt heavy with sleep, but it was not the weight of weariness, it was the weight of peace. She lifted the lantern from the grass, its light glowing warmly in her hand, and pressed it close to her chest. Thank you, she whispered, not only to the frog but to the pond, the lanterns, the first dream, and the night itself. The frog dipped his head once more, then grew still. His golden shimmer faded slowly into the ordinary green of a pond frog, as if the magic had curled back to rest until it was called again. Elara didn't mind. She knew what she had seen would never fade from her heart. Her gown rustled as she rose, the dew-damp grass clinging gently to its hem. She walked softly back along the garden path, the lantern lighting each step. The castle's tall windows gleamed faintly in the distance, but for once, the thought of stone walls did not weigh heavy on her. She carried the glow inside her now, and that was enough. Elara's slippers whispered softly across the garden path as she carried her little lantern back toward the castle. The glow inside it seemed warmer than ever, not just firelight but a reminder of everything she had seen beneath the golden pond. The willow trees bent low as she passed, brushing their leaves as though they, too, wanted to wish her good night. The roses swayed faintly, their petals folding into sleep. Even the brook, which usually chattered softly as it moved, had hushed to a gentler murmur, as if it respected the dream Elara carried now. When she reached the castle gates, the guards bowed their heads in silence, their eyes softened by the lantern's glow. Though they could not know what had happened in the depths of the pond, they seemed to sense that the princess returned different, calmer, steadier, wrapped in a light too gentle to ignore. Elara only smiled faintly at them and continued on, her steps slow and steady, her heart thrumming with the quiet hum of the first dream. The stone halls of the castle welcomed her back with their familiar coolness. Tapestries hung still on the walls, torches burned low, and the echo of her footsteps rang softly. Yet tonight, nothing felt heavy or hollow. She felt the glow of the pond still wrapped around her like a cloak, and the quiet of the castle seemed to hum along with it. At last, she entered her bedchamber. The room was bathed in silver from the tall windows, where moonlight spilled across the polished floor. Her canopy bed, draped in soft silks, seemed to wait for her like an old friend. She set her lantern on the table by her bedside, and for a moment she simply stood there, gazing at its flicker. The flame glowed golden, but she knew it was more than fire. Inside it was a promise that every dream in the kingdom, from the smallest child to the oldest elder, was woven together, and she had touched its heart. Elara untied her cloak and let it fall across a chair, then slipped out of her slippers. Barefoot, she padded across the rug and pulled back the soft covers. When she slipped into bed, the silks sighed around her like clouds wrapping her gently. She drew the blankets up beneath her chin, her hair spilling across the pillow like threads of starlight. For a long moment, she lay awake, gazing at the moon through the tall window. She thought of the frog sitting quietly on his lily pad, the dream lanterns swaying in golden currents, the first dream pulsing at the heart of the pond. Her eyes glistened, but not with tears of sorrow, only with gratitude. She whispered softly into the night, "I will carry it. Always." The pond seemed to answer her, not in words, but in the gentle hush that settled over everything. Her breathing slowed. The hum of the pond's light still thrummed in her chest, steady and sure, lulling her deeper. With each breath, her body grew heavier, her muscles softening, her mind loosening. Her eyelids fluttered, then closed, and she sank into dreams. And oh, what dreams they were! In her dream, she walked again across the glowing lily lanterns, but this time she was not alone. The villagers walked beside her, children holding lantern berries in their hands, elders leaning against staffs carved of willow. Foxes, owls, and rabbits hopped along the lantern path too, each carrying their own glow. Together they reached the golden basin, where their dreams braided into one great tapestry. Elara stood at its edge, her heart full, her voice calm, whispering words of peace that carried across the ripples. Everywhere she looked, she saw safety, joy, warmth. The old woman beneath her tree. The baker pulling golden bread from the oven. The fox cubs chasing fireflies in the meadow. Each dream pulsed brighter, as though strengthened by her promise. The golden frog watched from his lily throne, his eyes warm. "You see," he croaked gently. "This is why you were chosen. You are not just a princess, you are a keeper of dreams." Elara's dream self bowed her head, her gown shimmering like waterlight. She reached for the lantern at her chest, and it glowed brighter, sending ripples of golden light outward. The pond's lanterns swayed in answer, their hum deepening until it sounded like the whole kingdom breathing in harmony. The dream folded slowly, its edges softening, the golden glow dimming into a hush. Elara's body relaxed further, her breath deep, steady, peaceful. She slept without stirring, her heart carrying the dream as her mind surrendered to rest. Outside her window, the moon lowered gently, painting the castle towers in silver. The stars twinkled slower, blinking as though they, too, were sinking into slumber. The forest hushed, the brook stilled, the whole kingdom seemed to sigh in time with its princess's sleep. And so the night whispered its final lullaby, "You are safe. You are warm. You are loved. You are ready for the sweetest dreams tonight." The lantern by her bedside flickered once more, then glowed steady, guarding her through the night. Princess Elara slept. The golden pond shimmered in silence. And the first dream pulsed on, waiting, watching, weaving peace into every sleeping heart.